Hello, whiskey folk. How are we all? Welcome to another vPub. Welcome to another extended opening on a Sunday evening. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I'm looking forward to just spending a couple of hours relaxing with you. We'll keep it to less than 2 hours tonight. It's an early bed for me tonight. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to it. Obviously, these Sunday sessions, there aren't guests, there aren't kind of themes or structures or topics. It's just enjoying, as we've done before on a Sunday night, a little bit of whiskey community time, a little bit of a wind down and a little bit of a close to what is the end of another week that seemed to just be kind of rolling into each other right now. It's bizarre times for very many of us, for a lot of us. I should have been on Islay right now. I've been getting little messages and reminders on my phone throughout the weekend and on the run up to the weekend. And it's kind of very, very bittersweet, isn't it? Of course, we're all healthy. We have to kind of understand that if we're still feeling well and we're functioning well, then, you know, these things aren't cancelled or postponed. They will happen in the future. But I was really looking forward to a week on Islay with so many of you guys out there, with the doc, with Sevi, with my brother potentially, Bill, coming over from the States. There's going to be a few folk joining me on Islay, and we're all a wee bit sad, but we will get there. It will happen in the very near future. So tonight we're just going to relax a wee bit. We'll maybe raise a wee glass of Bruichladdich a bit later on. Today would have been Bruichladdich Day. Lagavulin was yesterday. And kind of just mark it. But I'm going to just, I've got other things that I'd kind of like to share. But the focus tonight is just hanging out with all of you and chatting to you through the chat. Nice to see you all. Let's jump in and welcome you on another Sunday night. Perth Sebastian is here. You stand now. I got a message so that I could tie the names up, Perth Sebastian and your name. It'll come to me a wee bit later. It'll come quicker if you help me. But you sent a message to me explaining your name so that I could tie it up. Nice to welcome you. Keith Corbett is here. Good to have you here tonight. Hans van Inenam. Inenam? A very Dutch name, Hans. Very nice to welcome you in here as well. He's saying, hi, Roy, good evening. Hi, good. Nice to see you as well. Finally done is here. Good to see you. Tabitha Adams, Kino Dot. That's Shimini Charlie, I think. Good to have you. Good to have you in again. Lee J. Brown, Flying Hussar 303. Graham Horner, Dan Levy, Ben Stahl. Ben, good to see you, my friend. Dan Levy, is that a new name? I don't think so. I think I've welcomed you in before, Dan. I hope I have. If not, welcome in tonight. Luna Aaron is here. Rico's here. Little Bird tells me that I've been pronouncing your name wrong, Rico. Rico's fine, but the surname would be Denert. Would that be closer to your pronunciation, Rico Denert? For a Scot, that pronunciation is difficult. So, yes, if I'm getting anywhere closer, let me know, Rico. Greg's Whiskey Guide is in. Good to see you, Greg, coming in from France. Pete Head, good to see you, Frank. Good to have you, my friend. Gixer Skipper Luke is here, Marcus Heinen, Carl Van Wallingham, the Whiskey Influencer, the Whiskey Dram, Daniel. Good to have you, Daniel. Always nice to see you in. Greg and Rao is in as well. There's another difficult name, Unrao. Let's see. Let's guess it's that. Nice to have you in, Greg. Good to have you here. Greg Elliott, 56. I should be going to Scotland from the United States June 1st for 2 weeks. Very sad I cannot be there. Look forward to it in the future. Greg, it will come to you, my friend. Nice to welcome you in here instead. I hope you've got something nice in your glass. Whiskey Mystery, that's Phil. Good to see you, Phil and Deepa. I hope you're both very well. Graham Fraser, Orange Wool, Menos Multi-Mission, so many of you. Amy's here tonight. Amy's in. I miss you, Amy, and I'll tell you why. I miss you for loads and loads of reasons, but you're very good encouraging folk to remember to give a wee thumbs up. I have to say that the thumbs up thing, I constantly talk about how I forget to leave thumbs up, but I try hard. I try to make an effort. If you've enjoyed a video, you go, that was nice, and you move on. But if you don't enjoy a video, you probably take action and you leave a down thumb. So I'm very, very good at leaving an up thumb. Because for so many people, when they see the down, I'm grateful that YouTube has the function to down thumb things, because that's an indicator that other social media platforms don't really have that down, and it's good to use it as an indicator, but it's difficult to work out why. It's difficult to work out if there's a message there or if it's somebody just leaving a little protest poo on the doormat. So yes, I love the fact that Amy used to encourage us all and remind us all to, did I just freeze again? I loved that Amy encouraged us all to leave that wee thumb up. And I like to do it when I'm watching other people's content as well. Good to have you in, Amy. Good to have so many of you here. I'm really struggling with my internet tonight. I hope it's only at my monitoring side. I'll look at the chat. No freeze, Safrix is saying. Maybe it's just here. Yes. Just do a quick refresh of that page. All I'm doing here is monitoring the health. It should tell me if anything's gone wrong. Anyway, let me tell you what I've got in the glass. I've got something very special here. I'll share with you a wee bit later on. I poured that well in advance. This is quite a mature spirit that's in this glass here at 25 years old. It's just going to sit there for a while. But I've been warming up with this wee Deanston. And this is a Deanston that only came to light on the run-up to Julian Fernandez coming on last week. Nobody at Deanston told me that this was happening. This is a very limited release going through just a single supermarket right now in the UK, it seems. But it was bizarre to me when I heard the spec of this. This is a non-age statement. It's called the Deanston Kentucky Cask Matured. It's soft filtration. You might remember we discussed it on the Thursday night with Julianne. And it's at 40% ABV, quite a departure for what we've come to understand, not just from Deanston, but the other distilleries in that stable from Distell. So I want to talk about that in a little while. I want to tell you what I think about it and give you my feedback on this is a product, this is a proposition for folk out there. And what I think it means for Deanston, I mean, I have no intelligence. I didn't talk about this in depth. The only discussion I've had with them is on that stream with Julianne on Thursday night. But it's an interesting whiskey for a few reasons to me. Whiskey Influencer is saying, yes, saw your Insta post on this, a very curious decision, perhaps trying to build their recognition. Absolutely. I think they're trying to cast their net a wee bit wider. And a lot of producers do it. Drew Lane is in. Good to see you, Drew. He's saying, hello, Aquavita. Lee J. Brown is here saying, Roy, is that only in Scotland? Not sure it's filtered down this far south yet. I think it can't just be Scottish stores of Morrison's. I would be surprised, but it could be. I don't know how big a bottling, how big a release this is. I really don't have any intelligence or information on it. I would hope that it's only just arrived in our stores in the last few days. So it's likely that it might start appearing on your shelves and other Morrison's up and down the UK over the course of the next few days. Not 100% sure though. Helen is saying no luck in Buckinghamshire yet. And Scott Clark is here saying, I have no intelligence. Yeah, it's a bizarre thing to say, isn't it? I have no intelligence on that yet. Probably better just to say, I don't know. Fulop, Shegerin. You do bring the names, the difficult to pronounce names. My friend, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm going to be so. Fulop. Well, this whiskey got us talking on Instagram, Roy. Fantastic. We did. I'm very, very grateful to welcome you in here. This started a conversation, and rather than just go into kind of chapter and verse and exchanges on social media, I reached out. I believe your name is Philippe. You did guide me how to pronounce it in our message. And what I've suggested is that what I'll do is rather than debate the topic, we'll exchange whiskey instead. And I'll send them this alongside a couple of other whiskies in typical Aquavite style, of course, where it'll be blind and kind of judge it alongside its peers maybe, and then put maybe something else in there as a bit of a kind of curveball, so that when he comes to the whiskey, he's not judging the packaging, he's not judging the proposition or the labeling or the strategy or the brand or anything. he's just purely judging the whiskey, because he said that he tried Deanston and he struggled with it, and that struck a chord with me, because there was a time, and I admitted to Julianne on Thursday evening on the vPub, that I didn't strike a chord with Deanston, or it didn't strike a chord with me, and I didn't think I would go back. But I did go back, and I fully believe that it was because of changes that were made at Deanston. But I also admitted on Thursday night that it could be a lot to do with changes in me. And we've always got to be, never ever commit to not liking. Because whiskey has taught me year after year, month after month, that I'll go back to something I declared that I did not like and find myself loving it. It's kind of, whiskey is good at teaching you to be a wee bit more careful about things like that. Whiskey Stream Fires, and good to see you, Tony, saying my brother got me a bottle. He'll send it to me ASAP. So the Mule Network is active and working, even when the whiskey isn't released in certain territories. There's ways around it for dedicated whiskey folk, right? And Tim is saying Deanston's newer releases seem to be clearly superior than the older releases. Fraser Widdowson has just joined the Aquavitae Barflies. I recognise your family name, Fraser, but I'm not sure I recognise the Fraser part. Nice to welcome you in. Thanks for joining and supporting. Philip is saying, I believe you, and that's why I'm open, and let's continue on this Deanston journey. Absolutely, my friend, and I'm very glad that you reached out to me and accepted my offer. It's a pleasure to welcome you on a vPub as well. McCallum Fine and Rare, Doc is here tonight. And the Doc is the Doc. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, as we all know. But one of his black and white subjects is bourbon. There was a time that I didn't want a glass of whiskey in front of me, any kind of whiskey. And now look at me. Maybe you'll never come to love bourbon, Doc. But it's guaranteed that you'll never come to love it if you never keep a wee curious eye out. Daniel Gray is saying, couldn't agree more, Aquavitae. Had a bottle of Jura that I really disliked when I opened it. But after I got halfway down, the rough edges smoothed off and it became much more enjoyable. That happens with so many bottles of whiskey that you just, on first pour, we call it the neck pour, Daniel. You hear us all talking about it. We're just not sure. Often it's to do with a jarring experience against our expectations. Sometimes it's just the whiskey's a little bit tight and it hasn't kind of breathed yet. We've just kind of poured and opened and sipping straight away. Maybe we're not in the right place for it at that point in time. But leave it, give it time, go back to understand it a bit more. And I believe fully that the whiskey does change over the course of the bottle. I really do. Kim Grant on whiskey. Kevin is saying, have you been able to get a wee beastie yet? No, I have not. If anybody can help me get my hands on a wee beastie, the Scotch Test Dummies have put out a review this week on wee beastie, and they're in the middle of the States. You can't get further from the coast, practically, where they are. They've got their hands on a wee beastie. What's the problem, Ardbeg? Why am I not getting it? Now, somebody said that there was some on Amazon this week, but I didn't see it. And I went in and checked straight away, and there's none there. It should be about the £40 mark. It should be available. I'm not in a rush to get it, honestly, but I'm very curious because it's exactly the type of presentation that I've been asking for, especially for Islay whiskey. Even if it's young, even if it's 5 years young, put the age statement on there and then teach us how good it can be at that age. Cheers to everyone. Thanks for joining me on a Sunday evening. I want to talk about this Deanston. You might have seen the t-shirt just before. I've got two guests to play a wee game of Is It a Speyside tonight. I did send an invite out to 3, but I'm not sure if somebody's having a wee bit of trouble. I'm checking my messages and I'm not seeing anything from them in yet. But before we go in for a wee game of Is It a Speyside, I want to, in the intro there, you would have seen me displaying a t-shirt over the back of the chair here. And I need to show you this. When I talk about kind of community and folk getting together to do things that they consider as kind or fun or generous or thoughtful or whatever it may be, and if they can have a bit of fun with it as well, I think this is a perfect example of that. Stefan Novak reached out to me and said, can I have your address, please? I'd like to send you a little something. And normally that's a wee dram or something. And I know Stefan, and I'd kind of given him my address in the past because I've shipped stuff to him. So yeah, I was curious. I was like, yeah, well, what is it we're after? And he was a little bit coy about it, but eventually this package arrived. And this is based on a spelling mistake I made in the quiz. My surname is Duff, of course, but I spelled Dufton, you know, the town that's named after my family name, wrong. And I said Dofton. And look at the T-shirt that they made for me. Now, if you look closely here, you'll see that there's a barfly here. And you'll see that the I in the straight is a bottle of whiskey with an Aquavite brand on it as well. And this is from a kind of joke from Stefan with support and help from Daniel Vermaas and Menno's multi-mission, which I thought was fabulous. But that's not all. Because apparently, and I didn't realize that this word was a particularly unknown word. Or, it was a word that I've used in the past and I continue to use and I will continue to use, and it's Moorish. This whiskey is Moorish. That is that as soon as you've finished it, you do want to go back and have another wee dram. It's a Moorish dram. So they sent me this. Let's get that to focus. Moorish, informal, causing desire for more. And as an example, they've got this dram is very Moorish. I'm going to give both these T-shirts a wee wash. I was actually going to wear this one tonight for the stream, but where the printing has been, I put on the T-shirt, we've still got all the kind of print marks here, but a wee wash will take that all out. So you might see me sporting that straight out of Dufton or Dofton in a future vPub. He also sent me a few samples here. I think I'm going to at least open one this evening. But he sent me a book I'd never ever heard of. It's called By the Smoke and the Smell, and it's by Vogler, a chap called Thad Vogler. And I'd never heard of this book. And I've had a scan through it. It covers whiskey and other spirits as well. And it looks really quite intriguing. So I'm going to raise a wee glass to Menno, to Daniel Vermaas, and to Stefan Novak to say thank you very, very much for the tongue-in-cheek humour, the kind thoughts, and the spirit of community. Thanks for the gifts, my friend. Cheers to you. Wonderful stuff. Donner Pass Whiskey is saying that Morris shirt needs to be mass-produced. Peathead is saying, great T-shirts, Aquavite, when are these available? No, they're just gifts that the guys made for me, that Stefan made for me. There wasn't an intention for it to be a thing. I like the idea of the Moorish one with the wee Glencairn glass on it as well. I think that's it wouldn't need to be necessarily branded, Aquavite or whatever. It could just be one of these in things. Yes, you never know. We'll have a chat with Stefan, see what he thinks about it afterwards. Philip says, so of course I watched the last vPub, but I am not sure Julianne was precise. Can you talk more about this soft filtration, Roy? Okay, I think we will talk about that. When we start to share what I think about this Deanston in general, I'll cover that very subject. And Owen Ashford is saying, ever tried whiskey from so that's Penderyn? Yes, I have. I've tried a few whiskies from the Welsh distillery of Penderyn. I don't own one. Actually, I do. I've got their Madeira finished through there. Probably what was their mainstay for a long time. And I didn't always go on with it. But I went last year to a vertical tasting held at the Glasgow Whisky Club by the brand ambassador. And there was much, much better whiskies shared at that event. So yes, I'm always on my eye out for a decent product out of Wales as well. Marcus is saying, good evening, Roy. Can I have Marcus, you've taken the words right out of my mouth. It's written here in big blue letters. Let's raise a glass to celebrate somebody's birthday. A barfly, or let's say a passive barfly, Christina Kreitner is having her birthday today. And I know that she would probably be rather somewhere really nice in a nice restaurant with friends, with Marcus, with family. But she's at home, like the rest of us, sitting, watching some guy in Glasgow sharing whiskey. Regardless, Christina, I hope that you've got some plans to celebrate your birthday in the future. And I'm going to raise this glass to you and Marcus. I'm going to say, Christina Kreitner, many happy returns. Cheers. Happy birthday, Christina. Welsh Toro is in. Good to see you. I want to love my Penderyn, but I'm struggling. Age it, for crying out loud, he's saying. A lot of it is quite young. Got quite an interesting still set up down there as well. They can be really, really quite creative outside of the regulation of Scotch whisky distilling, of course. George Kaplan has just joined the Barflies. Welcome in, George, and it's wonderful to welcome you here, George. I loved seeing that cameo of you when that video went live with you in the Scotch for Dummies channel, and it was being introduced by you. I recognised you immediately, and I was filled with a warm, fuzzy feeling. I've saved that video, and I'm going to go back and watch the whole thing play out. Loved it. I loved the idea. I loved, of course, it's blind tasting. I'm going to go back and watch that, George, and it's great to see you live on video as well. That was on a recent George Kaplan challenge in the Scotch for Dummies, the guys over in Indianapolis, Andrew, Drew, Mark, and Sean. Now, Hoyt is in the chat, but he's not made it here. Hoyt was going to be one of the challengers this evening. Maybe he just didn't get my email. Hoyt, I did send out an email and I've had nothing bounce, my friend. I've had the other guys in for a wee tech check beforehand, so if you're struggling, reach out and let me know. But don't stress or pressure yourself, because if you don't make it tonight, it's no problem. We'll get you on at some point in the future. You'll notice that with this kind of, is it a Speyside thing? I'm slowing it down a wee bit. Having 4 on at a time is probably a bit much, right? But we can do 4, no problem. But having 4 on at a time twice a week was far too much, I think. So we'll pull it back a wee bit and just have a bit of fun on the days or the vPubs where we've got the time to allocate to it. But I've got 2 people in the background willing to play right now, and I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to reach out to Helen first, if she's in good shape. Give me a thumbs up, Helen, if you're ready. She is. Now this is Hellswood. This is Helen Widdowson. Good to see you, Helen.
Good evening, Roy. Hi, barflies.
How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. A few butterflies in the tummy, but I'm okay.
Are you? What was that you said?
Just a few butterflies in my tummy.
Butterflies? No, not at all. I think that we've already agreed in advance that you're buying tonight. You're the one that's going to be answering, and I'm the one that's guessing blind what it is. Okay, so I'm guessing it's your dram. Now I believe you're down south. Yes.
Yes, in sunny Milton Keynes. Well, it was a few hours ago. It's obviously dark now, but yeah, Milton Keynes.
So just a bit north of London for folk that don't know where Milton Keynes is. About an hour or so, an hour and a half north of London.
Yeah, 30 minutes on the train, 60 by car. Yep.
Excellent, excellent. It's nice to put a face to the name tonight as well, Helen. You've been in the channel, you've been supporting for a long time now. I know with Andy alongside you most times. He's there tonight, but I think he's saving himself for a future episode of Visit a Speyside.
Yeah, once he's had a haircut.
He wants his haircut, don't we all? Don't we all? My wife's cutting my hair just now. I'm hoping that she can get to it sometime soon. Helen, okay, so you're going to be answering, so the pressure's on me to ask. Okay, let's bring up this wee screen. Let's play a wee game of Is It a Speyside? And I'll start the proceedings, Helen. Okay. Is it a Speyside?
Yes.
It is a Speyside. Okay. Is it a Glen?
No.
Yes.
It's not a Glen. Oh, somebody's shouting in the background.
No. It's not a Glen.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to go with no, it's not a Glen. Okay. Is it owned by one of the big 4, that is Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Grants, or Edrington?
Nope.
It's not. Okay, so it's kind of a smaller one. Is it run by an independent? I.e., is it their only distillery? Is it kind of family owned? If you're not sure, I can ask a different question.
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an age statement?
Yes. Oh, I've been told no, it hasn't. No, it hasn't got an age statement. No.
Oh, it doesn't have an age statement. Okay,
No,
it doesn't.
sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to make an assumption then that it's, well, let's not. Is it Is it 43% ABV?
No.
That was a terrible question to ask then. Is it 46 or below?
Yes.
There's a few to choose from. Can you find it easily in UK supermarkets?
No.
So it's maybe not I was thinking Glen Murray. Oh, but you said it's not a Glen. Oh dear. If it's Glenfarclas, the only non-age statement I'm thinking about for core range Glenfarclas would be 105.
But it's not
It's
a
not
Glen.
Grant's. It's not owned by one of the big four. Low ABV. I'm on the ropes here. Is it Glen Grant?
It's not a Glen.
It's not a Glen. That's twice. There's only one more I can think of.
Go for it.
But it's an age stated. It's age statement. I was thinking of Tom and Tell, but it's age
No,
stated.
it's not a non-age statement.
Oh, is there an age on it?
No.
Oh, so it is non-age statement. Okay. I'm going to kick myself here. But I'm nowhere. I'm thinking of every town. Oh. Is it Ben Romack?
Yes.
Almost caught me out in the past. So what's there? Let's go. A non-age statement, Ben Romack. Ben Romack, Peat Smoke.
Oh, you rotter.
You're kidding me on.
No, there you go.
Oh. How
done.
How did I get that? From, oops, sorry, I was meant to remove that. I'm absolutely shocked. What's that?
Well done.
People are answering Ben Romack organic. And I'd forgotten about the organic. I was just talking about Ben Romack organic recently as well. Ben Romack Sherry Peat, Ben Romack Scott Clark got Peat Smoke. I don't know if he was the first. That's amazing. Helen, I'm so relieved. I was nowhere. And I burned so many questions asking me if it was a Glen Murray or a Glen
We were going to do Glen Murray, but we changed them.
Oh my
Ben
goodness.
Romack.
I'm feeling, can you sense the relief?
Yes.
I was really up against the ropes there. I was really up against the ropes. Helen, well done. What a sneaky expression to bring in.
Well done.
Well done to you. Cheers. Thanks for joining us, Helen. And stay till the end, won't you?
Will do. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, wow. I was under pressure there. Could have gone any direction. Relief. Okay, this guy's been on before. He's played before. He reached out earlier today and talked about the potential of having some revenge. He was asking previously, and it's going to be me that's asking tonight. He's a fellow YouTuber over in Northern Ireland. I'm obviously talking about Jim Ingram, the gentleman that is the Whiskey Novice. How are you, Jim?
I'm very best, Roy. Thank you. Cheers.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you back again for some more of this.
The away match.
Yes. I did have penciled in. I had a group of 4 from the US in tonight. And earlier in the week, we agreed that we would postpone it till the end of the month, till the 31st next week. Mm-hmm. I forgot all about it. And I was left to today to think, oh, I've got nobody teed up for the game tonight. And I don't think I'm at the point that I want to just drop the link in the public stream yet, right? I tried to try run at that on the patron only stream on Tuesday night, and it worked quite well. But I wonder how it would work out there in a public environment. Anyway, buddy, it's good to see you. It's good to welcome you back to another vPub.
You too, mate. Cheers.
Still loving the content, still loving how much you're enjoying whiskey and how much you're sharing it as well. If you're looking for Jim, you'll find him on YouTube under the Whiskey Novice channel. How's the channel going now, Jim? You're doing about, what, 300 subs?
Yeah, just about 300. And as I say, it just picks up, 2 or 3 a week. But sure, honestly, I would do this without subs. I would just do it for the love of it. Really,
that's what I say to everyone that's starting off. It's very slow. You've got to really grind it out. It takes a long time to build it. The first big and most difficult thing is to get past 1,000 subs, definitely. When that happens, things kind of start to take care of themselves a wee bit. And you've got different challenges that come on. But Jim, I'm enjoying your content and I wish you all the best with it, my friend. Are you ready to play a wee game of Visit Speyside?
I am.
And you're buying tonight, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Jim, is it a Speyside?
No.
Is it a Highland?
No.
Is it an Islay?
No.
Oh my goodness. Jim Ingram. So we're down to Campbelltown and Lowlands. Is it a Campbelltown?
Yes. And I was hoping you wouldn't get there that quick.
I was hoping I was going to get there quicker. The region. We're now down to 3 distilleries in Campbelltown. We've got Kilkerran, we've got Springbank, we've got Glen Scotia. Springbank have 3 brands. Is it one of the brands from Springbank Distillery?
No.
Is it Kilkerran?
No.
Oh my goodness. Is there an age statement on it?
No.
Is it Glen Scotia Double Cask?
Yes, of course it is. Too easy.
Oh wow! I think recently I've been down to, I don't know how I've managed to do it. I've been down to like 1 or 0, but that was slightly easy. 46%, I think that Double Cask is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
For a non-age statement, I find it a really enjoyable whiskey. I was
bought this as a gift recently, completely out of the blue. Didn't know anything about it, and I love it.
Absolutely.
Very interesting dram.
Absolutely. And for an entry-level product, I think it's fantastic. And honestly, I think if you're looking for something as an entry-level and it's going to be light and easy, there is a temptation to drop the ABV on it. But I don't think many people rock up to Campbelltown for light and easy.
No.
They're going there for something completely different. I'm very pleased that the Double Cask is out there. I'm glad it's affordable and quite inexpensive. I would recommend it to anybody, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it as well, Jim. Jim, I'm sorry you never got your event tonight.
I'll be back.
Third time's the charm, right?
I'm going to have to look for something really, really
obscure.
I
think maybe the less obscure. I caught somebody out recently with Glenlivet 12, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Just things that we maybe have forgotten about that have dropped off the radar might be a better way to go. Jim, stay till the end, won't you, my friend? And
I will do, Roy.
At the end. Thank you, buddy. Cheers. Nice to welcome you.
Cheers, mate.
Scogsmart is saying, so when are we expanding? Is it a Speyside to Irish Bourbon Canadian? This is clearly too easy for you, Aquavite. It might run its course if I'm able to win it like that. But I mean, that Ben Romick one tonight was so close. That was lucky in the end. That was pure luck. This might cause diplomatic issues between Scotland and Northern Ireland. Menno's multi-mission. Well, it might do, but it won't cause any problems between me and Jim. Hellswood is saying, who are you sending the samples to? Can't scroll back. Okay, so just on that, we started this out that the loser would the forfeit would be to send a sample, but not to each other, to send the sample to the first person in the chat, in the lounge that got the right answer, whether it's before or after we guessed it. But there's some problems with that. If you are comfortable and you live in a place that can legally send a sample out to somebody who lives in a place that can legally receive it and everything is above board and fine. I encourage you at your own option to do that, to enter into that direct discussion with somebody else in the chat. But please do not do anything illegal based on this game. For everybody that participates in this, in the chat and wins, I'll send them a sniper coin. I don't have them yet, but they are ordered. They're being made right now. They look like this. They're food safe acrylic, and they're decorated. They're etched on one side. This is a prototype, but it won't be this artwork. It'll be sniper artwork. So the logo that you see in this game, it'll look a little bit like that. Let me pull this in so that you can see it. It'll look a little bit like that. And it'll say on it, is it a Speyside sniper? And these sniper coins will be sent out to the people, whether they've got a dram from you or not. And if somebody's on here and with me and they win, they beat me, I'll send them a sniper coin as well. These won't be available anywhere else. They'll be exclusive. They won't be able to be bought or purchased. The only way you can get your hands on a sniper coin is to snipe it. So please don't feel any pressure to be sending drams, especially when that is often not illegal activity. So that's I hope that answers your question. And Skogsmard, your thing about Canadian and bourbons and things, I think I would be at less than 10%, even lower than that. Seriously. David Owen is saying, Roy, have you anybody else here tried the Benromac Cask Strength Batch 1? And is it worth buying? I haven't tried it yet, but I enjoy Benromac generally. I think it's relatively safe. I enjoyed their 100 proof, 57% ABV version that they used to put out there. I thought it was a good whiskey. California Rare is saying, just send Roy an email, whisky@aquavitae.com, and express your interest. Absolutely. This is open to people to apply. I'm holding a waiting list now. I would normally give people more notice than they received tonight. And your name will just kind of naturally come up, and I'll try a week or two in advance to kind of slot you in for a Sunday night. 2 or 3, 4 people at the most at any time, and we can play a little game of Is It a Speyside. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you thought it was a bit of fun. Sakin is in as well, saying, why do you include Edrington and not Bacardi in the big four? You're absolutely right. It's a great point. It's arguable that Bacardi, it's arguable even that Inverhouse, the other producers are... It is, and it's to do, I don't know if it's to do with capacity, malt capacity. I don't know if it's to do with the brand, just the fact that Edrington have Highland Park and Macallan. I don't know what it is. So that's why when I do say the big four, I specify Grant's, Pernod Ricard, Diageo, and Edrington. Dewars Bacardi would be a good, in fact, one of the ones that caught me out was an Altmore. So Altmore, Craigellachie, Royal Bracla, Macduff, that's the Deverons. I'm trying to think of the fifth one. There's at least a fifth one. That could catch me out. Dave K is saying, good evening, Roy. Good evening, Dave. Nice to welcome you in here. Pierre is saying, will the vPub keep going even after lockdown? Absolutely, Pierre. The vPub's been going for not quite 3 years. Later this year, it'll hit its third 3-year anniversary. When I started out, it wasn't called the vPub. It took a few sessions before it got its name of being the vPub. But it's been going a while now. What's happened recently is that I'm putting out 2 a week. And it was only every other Thursday with occasional kind of ad hoc vPubs in between time and exclusive vPubs and things for patrons. That'll still happen. What's happening now is that I'm going out on a Sunday and a Thursday. What will probably happen is I might go back to weekly. Will I go back to twice a month? Probably not. The feedback that I've got from taking this step has been hugely supportive, and people feeling like even if they don't get a chance to see it every week, they would like the option of having it every week. Even if they can't make it, these live streams are there just to fit around your life. That's all that they're there for. And most of the time you're in to hang out with each other, not with me. So they're there when you can fit them in. And don't think that you need to keep up to date with them. Don't think that you need to watch every one that goes out. Just watch the ones that intrigues you, or the ones that you're sitting in a comfortable place and you can enjoy it. It'll absolutely be continuing after lockdown, Pierre. I'll get you next time, doff, Jim Ingram is saying. Keep trying, big guy. Keep trying. Multi-Mission is saying, adding bourbon into the equation would be just too much. There are like 7 or 10 big distilleries creating dozens and dozens of brands, Aquavitae, not even including all the others. Aye. Philip is in saying, you may be busy, but any plans to launch other video content from... I mean, it's something I'm constantly being asked. And so if you see a pre-recorded video from me, even a recycled review will take 2 days to do. Honestly, me just sitting here. I prepare everything in advance. I seek out what I'm doing. I pour off the heels. I go and take the still images first. Then I wait for the weather to be nice, and I go out and I shoot the thing. And then I lose the audio, and I have to go and shoot other pieces of it, bits again or something. And I go and shoot it anyway, and I come back in, and it's sitting here, and then you organize it and you edit it. And the editing can take a long time because there's lots of housekeeping that goes around just more than just the function of editing it. So all told, a recycled review is the quickest thing I can put out there. A day, 2 days. A production like the Dummies Visit in Scotland or Magic of Islay type video or something of that order is a week of work. Maybe more, honestly. So putting together a short few minute videos, because of the way I do it and because of my workflow rate and speed, it's harder to do, especially when I'm homeschooling and I haven't been able to touch it recently. But there's a recycled review ready. All I need is just to be able to go out and get it shot. Everything is prepared. I know what's going to be in the recycled review. So there is something coming. But I hear what you're saying, is that it's easy for people to consume that content. And it's something that my channel is perhaps suffering for a wee bit. But the vPubs and the live streams have become such a builder of community that I'm committed to this platform, this live stream, regardless of what happens with produced content, edited content on the channel. I'm committed to this format. And Gregor McCree's in saying part 3 of the Dummies tour is overdue now, Roy, though. I'll get to it, big guy. Pete Head is saying, we'll wait. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Pronunciation number 3 is needed at some point. When you have time, says Jimmy Jazz. Good to have you in, Jimmy. I think I'm at the point that there's probably enough content, because we're not just talking about whiskies. I could probably do a pronunciation video, as I've said before, just on Bunnahabhain alone. But there's other things like Gaelic things that we say, like, is it slancha or slange? Is it, how do you say other kind of Gaelic terms that we are only really exposed to because we're in a kind of the whiskey verse, we're in the whiskey world, where people often use Gaelic terms, whereas in the rest of our lives, it's not really, doesn't come up unless you find it on a road sign or something. Jean de la Cuisine is saying, your production videos are great. I understand good work takes time. Thanks, John. Michael Lynn is saying, recycled review on its way. Yes. Good to have you in, Michael. I don't know if that's a new name. It's nice to have you, Michael. Malcolm Douglas is here. Good to have you, Malcolm. He's saying, hi, Roy. What about a live recycled review? Aye, there's been a few people. And I'm at the point that there are so many bottles that I've emptied or about to empty. Case in point is this wee lead chick is just about to die. But I've done that before. I've done lead chick before. So doing it in a recycled review, I would only kind of review that bottle if there was something significant of note. The product had changed, my opinion had changed, something. Otherwise, there's not much interest to having it in another recycled review. But everybody is allowed to do re-reviews. So anyway, there's so many of the basket of bottles that I'm going through to pick a recycled review. It's not just finishing 15. There's usually 30 there, because a lot of them are independent bottlers. They're single casks, they're special editions, batch releases, things that people can't get a hold of, and they don't have a lot of validity or a lot of place in a recycled review. So it's that much harder to get there. But there's an argument that I could take those bottles and do it live. The technical challenge is standing outside in my driveway to do a live review would be not insignificant, but it's possible. And everyone is saying you need to do an STD parody to make it even. Test it. I've thought about it, believe me. And Hoyt is saying, sorry I missed your message. I'd be up for next Sunday. Thank you so much, Hoyt. Don't worry about it at all, my friend. I'm glad you finally got it. And you're still very much on the waiting list, buddy. So all that's good. Zach Andrews is saying, we like those types of bottles too. I know, but if it's stuff that you're struggling to get a hold of, I don't know. I like to keep focused. You might have noticed on the channel that, yeah, it's nice to have really kind of special things. It's nice to have exclusive things, single casks. It's nice to chase these nice things from independents and things. But on the channel, most of it is going to be focused on things that everybody can engage with and enjoy most of the time. And if it isn't always, permit me the slight deviation, but generally speaking, it'll be like that. Multi-Mission is saying, how's your Kansas accent, Roy? It would be terrible. Gregor's Layman is saying, Aquavite, just do it inside at your desk. Go through all your bottles that did not make it to the main video. I think many would like to see that. Yeah, maybe when the kids are not sleeping right above. Anyway, let's talk about this Deanston. Me and Roddy would be fantastic sending up the Scotch test dummies. And what are your favourite independent bottlers? Right now, Kinheads. Always have a wee soft spot for G&M, Gordon McPhail. And there are a few out there, North Star Spirits, Thompson Brothers. I mean, there's just millions. So what I'm trying to do is track down whiskies and distilleries that I like. And when the releases pop up, it's usually not me that finds them. It's you guys that find them and send me messages. It's Scott and Sevy, the bottle chasers from Glasgow. They're the ones that kind of uncover these things and end up bringing on a severe attack of FOMO. Signatory. Tim Influencer is saying signatory, independent bottler. Yes, I do have a soft spot, especially for some of the expressions that come out of Signatory Vintage that you don't see appearing elsewhere. They're a very good bottler. Anyway, this Deanston is in an absolutely opposite direction from that. Really quite puzzled to hear about this. Julian Fernandez, the master blender from Distell, was on last week on Thursday night. Thought it was fantastic. I loved how down to earth, matter of fact, casually nonchalant, honest that she was. And she made no demands before we went live and everything. I explained, I said, look, these questions are going to come in live. The questions that I've got in front of me, a couple of them are perhaps a wee bit prickly. Are you okay? And she just said, yeah, I don't mind. She'll have heard it all before in events and tastings at the distilleries and in front of press before. So she's not fazed by anything. And I think that came across. And it was nice to hear these things from the person who's in charge of making the whiskies now going forward for Distell's 3 distilleries and 4 brands. But in the run up to that live, this product was made available in UK supermarkets. So coming from a distillery that's been praised, and I've applauded and shouted loudly about their presentation, that is unchill filtered, written on the label, 46.3% ABV. Now these things are hand in hand. It's easy to do unchill filtration, just simplistic barrier filtration if you're going to bottle and sell it at 46.3%, because it's going to be a stable product and it's not going to haze when it's sitting on a shelf or someplace cold or in transport or whatever it may be. It's going to be a stable product. It's going to stay quite clear and bright and shiny. Most whiskey drinkers don't even understand what chill filtration is. We are not most whiskey drinkers. We're enthusiasts. We're invested in the product. We're curious about it. We want to find out more and more about it. But we're the exception. We're not the rule. Most whiskey drinkers just don't understand these concepts. And so this is targeted at them. I'm freezing again at my side. Hope it's okay. This is very much targeted at them. 40% is much easier to somebody who finds high ABV spirits difficult to consume. So this is soft and gentle at 40%. This is the minimum it can be to be Scotch whisky. There's no age statement on it, and it's using a curious name. It's called Kentucky Cask Matured. Just means obviously it's ex-bourbon, either first fill or refill. But specifically, we're not talking about Tennessee bourbon here or casks from elsewhere. We're speaking about Kentucky casks. All very well. But think of the other producers out there just now that have higher spec product. Think of Tomatin. They have higher spec product in their core range. Think of Glenmorangie, higher spec product in their core range. Glendronach, higher spec product. But they also have entry-level product. Glendronach 12 is 43% and thus chill filtered. Glenmorangie 10 is 40% in the UK. I know for some export markets you might get it at 43. But Glenmorangie 10 to us is 40%. It's an entry-level product. Yes, you can get higher ABV with their age-stated products that are core range, such as Quinta Ruban. But the entry-level Glenmorangie 10 is at 40%. Tomatin have their legacy, non-age statement, 43% lower ABV. These are very strategic whiskies. These are gateway whiskies. These are out there to be affordable, to be in plentiful supply, to be accessible, to get folk to connect with whiskey. That's their sole purpose. So I'm kind of thinking, why would we deny that to Deanston? After years of investment in their brands, all 4 brands, huge investment in their distilleries, all 3 distilleries, and I'm not talking small scale stuff, I'm talking big projects. Why would we deny Deanston the ability to release a gateway product and see how it plays for them? Well, we can't. It's clear why this is out there. The soft chill filtration thing was interesting to me. It says here, soft chill filtration on the label, and it talks about it. I love the labeling, and by the way, I love the way it's kind of candid and frank and almost tongue-in-cheek. They do lower the temperature of the spirit before bottling, and they do filter it more aggressively than a barrier filter, but they don't bring it all the way down to close to freezing point. It's somewhere, I think Julianne said in the interview it was about 4 or 5 degrees of that order. So that only certain fatty acids and oily compounds are clumping together to be filtered out. It doesn't strip out all the fats or all the oils. So you're left with something that still has a nice texture, even at a lower ABV, and can still, in most circumstances, stay stable and bright so that somebody is looking at it on a shelf or they're carrying it home in the back of their car on a cold evening, whatever it may be. It's not going to haze up and go cloudy. Somebody that's not an enthusiast would look at it and consider it a defect, that something has gone wrong with their whiskey. This actually draws attention to that on the back of the label. It says here, enjoy it any damn way you like. Over ice, it may go a little cloudy. Don't panic. Our soft filtration process leaves in flavouring that harsher filtration may remove, leaving it jam-packed with sweet and smooth character. So they do make note of that on the back label as well. But what's the be-all and end-all? How does it play in the glass? This is not the whiskey that we would chase as enthusiasts. It's 40% ABV. We can't increase the texture, the grip. We can't increase the ABV. We have to drink it as it is. I've got an Instagram post out there that talks about this whiskey. I think it's very clean, it's very soft, and it's very creamy. There's a nice quiet honey here. There's vanilla. There's tropical pineapple. There's very light, crisp malt. There's a waxiness. There is a waxiness there. Deanston can play a little waxy sometimes. It's no Klein Leash, but some expressions get close to that. It's a nice, inviting, but soft and gentle nose. And that's not something that we would have in a normal Deanston, like the Virgin Oak or the 12, or upwards from there. Normally there's lots of kind of white pepper and spice with Deanston. It's just an easy sipper. It's very easy, soft. It doesn't have the flash and the flicker and the layers of complexity from the 12. It doesn't. It's flatter in experience. It's a bit more two-dimensional, but it's lovely. You give this to people and they would genuinely relax with it and enjoy it, especially if they're new into whiskey. But I'm going to take a step further than that. And my friend who's in the chat tonight, hanging out with us for the first time, I think, he's going to help me there, because I'm going to send some blind samples and this is going to be in the lineup. And I'm not asking him to pick it out. This is not a challenge to him to say, yes, pick out the Deanston. It's not. It's a challenge for the whiskies. I'm asking him to come at these with a completely open mind and grade them and review them when he doesn't know what they are. And then he'll, in typical Aquavitae style, he'll have a reveal envelope and things that he can go through. It's not meant to be completely hidden. You will be able to discover what he's been enjoying and drinking. And then in the spirit of open friendship and honesty, he can come back to me and say, I felt the Deanston wasn't up to scratch, or I felt like it was, and it was equal to its peers or better, or wherever it played. That's the only way to do it. So when you try this whiskey, don't judge it against the other core range Deanstons. Don't judge it against the other 12-year-olds that are out there that we're paying £40, £45 and more for. This is £29 in the UK. Judge it in context with the other whiskies that it's meant to compete with. And when I think about those, I think this does very well. Old Pulteney is not going to exist forever at £25, £30, 12-year-old. It's not going to stay there forever. Glenfiddich 12 will always be available. Glenmorangie 10 will always be available, both 40% products in the UK. Both with age statement granted. This can go toe-to-toe with those. Absolutely. I do have a but. And it's a big but. Lefroy released a product called Select, and I thought it was a disaster, because for every great bottling of a Select, there was a terrible one. Honestly, some of them were just, I have no idea how it made it into a bottle with a Lefroy branding. I have had bottles of Lefroy Select that I didn't want to finish. Now, I have friends who are less fussy and a different taste and a different palate to mine who are happy to finish it for me. But there were Lefroy Selects that I really did not get. But more than that, I didn't understand why Lefroy would put their brand that they've been building for generations onto something like that. Why are they chasing price point whiskies? It just didn't make any sense to me. I felt it was a misstep. And I do have the same concern with a small c, that this is a misstep. This is good whiskey at a good price for a very specific purpose. But Deanston have spent years building a brand that has garnered a lot of respect from us, and we're all evangelizing on their behalf. So if they're going to do this, this needs to be good and it needs to stay good. But we cannot deny Deanston the ability to go and create a gateway whiskey for themselves. Reeking Haddix is saying, what about the next Abuna 12? Fairly easy to pick up for £30 most of the time. It's often on offer, about £30, £32. I agree fully, one of the best values in single malt Scotch whiskey. And I would say that this is not that. Abuna 12 is more sherry cask style. This is not. This is, it says it on the label, it's Kentucky Cask matured. This is a bourbon style. So let's imagine you were going out to someone and you were saying, I'll give you the 3 kind of areas of Scotch to give you a map of the landscape to bring you into Scotch. I'm going to give you something heavily peated. So you might be tempted to go with a Lagavulin 16, let's say. Going to go for heavily sherried. So you might be tempted to go with a Glenfarclas, a Glendronach, something that's rich and sherried in style. But where would you go for a bourbon experience? Glenmorangie 10, perhaps? There aren't many options out there. Glenfiddich is sherry and bourbon. Glenlivet is sherry and bourbon. There aren't many that is exclusively bourbon cask that just give you that pure bourbon cask flavour. So it's another kind of little bow and a string in its bow. Whisky Influencer is saying it's curious that they have that notice about clouding and decide to chill filter it at all. Why not just make it non-chill filtered with the same notice? Clouding is clouding. I don't think clouding is clouding. I'm not an expert. I don't really know. When Julianne spoke about it, she was making clear definition from significant clouding to permissible clouding to no clouding. And that's no chill filtration, soft chill filtration, and full chill filtration. Molasses is saying, Deanston will always hold a soft spot for my heart. Deanston was my first stop after my first adventure driving on the other side of the road. I arrived frazzled and they cared for me. It's a good thing to hear. And I have to say, you know, at the end of the day, we're all going to judge it based on the liquid and we're going to decide whether it's something we engage with or not. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But don't just say no. Because it's all too easy for snobbery to take over. I don't drink anything less than 46%. Okay, that's fine. That's your choice. But when you say it like that, it makes me feel foolish for enjoying something at less than 46%. What am I missing out on? I suddenly feel like the experiences I've had with whiskey are rendered invalid by a statement like that. Keep it subjective. Always give people a guiding hand. Shine the light for them and help them along and let them understand why these things exist. Don't come out with statements that make them feel like whiskey is something only for people who know or understand. I think it's a mistake, honestly. Stewie Baby is saying Tomatin Legacy, maybe. I mean, I don't, but I think Tomatin Legacy again also has maybe exclusively bourbon. Actually, I think they just use some first fill in there as well, a wee bit virgin oak. Wayne McCoy is saying Glenfiddich 14. Glenfiddich 14 is a bit more expensive, Wayne, but it's a good shout. That is exclusively American oak. And Manolo is in saying just enjoyed a Lager 16. There's two things I want to make note of and celebrate tonight. What's my time? I'm an hour in. And I think they both deserve to be celebrated. Three things, actually, because we've raised a glass for Christina Kreitner, her birthday tonight. Today is Gordon MacPhail's 125th anniversary. 1895, they set up shop. And they were already, I guess, a grocer or a delicatessen. No, actually, I think that's when they opened, 1895. And they're celebrating 125 years. They're one of the, I mean, I don't know if it's a global recognition, but when it comes to Scotch single malt whiskey, they were one of the pioneers. They were one of the people bringing single malt experiences when none of the big producers were. They were doing it way before Glenfiddich brought Glenfiddich to the market as a single malt. Single malts were rare. It was a rare thing to see. It was certainly rare to see official bottlings. They did exist, but on very small scale projects. Gordon MacPhail have been doing single malt through specialists, of course, for generations. And I think it's remarkable for them to be celebrating 125 years today. And I also think it's a shame that they've got to do it under these circumstances. I'm sure they would have envisaged a much bigger celebration. I'm sipping I don't have many G&M on hand right now. I've got a Bunnahabhain, I've got a couple through there. But I didn't have much, but I've got this one, and it's a peach. It's a very, very classic Mortlach. It's opened up really nicely. It started to settle, and it brings all that full-on savoury Mortlach weight. 25 years old. This was a Christmas gift from my wife a couple of years ago. You might remember the barflies actually helped her come up with ideas and things, what to get me. And sipping it in contrast tonight with a super light Deanston, the weight of this is instant. Obviously from a sherry cask as well. It doesn't say anything on this. This is a licensed bottling from Gordon MacPhail. So this is when Mortlach is filled into Gordon MacPhail casks and brought back to be matured at Gordon MacPhail. And then they're able to put it out under license with the distillery name on it. And these are licenses that's been in place for a long, long time. So this is a vatting. This isn't like a single cask, but it's very meaty and weighty, very oily. You can detect a wee bit of sulfur here. If somebody's susceptible to sulfur, they would pick this up. It might be off-putting to them. It's not in any way off-putting to me. It's like a savoury. Cheers. Anyway, congratulations to G&M on 125 years. Wow. So the weight of that, it's not strong. It's not overpowering, but the spirit has weight. It's the sherry cask. It's the fact that it's Mortlach in a sherry cask. It's that old school style. It's the savoury. There are evenings that I could sip this and pick it out as Mortlach or Mortlach style whiskey, honestly. What's interesting about this is that it's bottled at 43%. And Gordon MacPhail for years put out 40%, 43%. That was the Scotch whisky landscape. Yes, there was single malt whisky available occasionally at cask strength, but it was very rare. In fact, one of the things that inspired SMWS to start in the 1980s was specifically to fulfill that purpose. Single cask, full strength whisky. It wasn't common before, seriously, as recently as the 1980s. Before then, that type of product wasn't common. And here, these licensed bottlings that have been around for years, 43% still. So we know that this gorgeous Mortlach has been treated by chill filtration. Now, anybody that knows this channel and knows me knows that I'm fully behind the ABCDs. That is, give us an age statement, give us the bottling strength that allows no chill filtration, and give us it without dye. Age, bottling, chill filtration, and dye, ABCD. I want to campaign for these things. But for us, I'm not going to force it on everyone that doesn't want to pay the extra money that costs, that doesn't want to have to suffer high ABV when 40% is already strong enough for them. Thank you very much. It can't all be like that. There's an argument that malt could be like that. All malt could. That we could have blended malts that took care of lower ABVs for a different reason, a different market. And we didn't call them blended malts. We just called them malts. And then we went one further and said single malts. They could be not only just the product of a single distillery, but they could be unfettered, unchill filtered, carrying an age statement, please. Served at a nice bottling strength so that we can adjust and play with the whiskey or get a much richer experience, and never, ever put caramel colour anywhere near it, please. Alan McLaughlin is in. Good to see you, Alan. Given that the indies tend to fulfill their ABCDs often, what else do you look for in an indie when taking a punt on buying a bottle, not knowing what it tastes like? Usually I'll go on the distillery. If I know what the distillery is, it's easier to take a punt because you've got previous with the distillery and you know more or less what to expect. Other than that, if I can't try before I buy, I'll take a recommendation from a trusted source, somebody else in the community that has tried it, or perhaps who's selling it to me. If I trust them, if I've got to know them, I'll trust them and they'll say, oh, no, this is a good cask or whatever. You go on that. One of the best SMWS expressions I've had has been because I've had a recommendation there and then immediately been able to try a dram. And I've brought home some great whiskies that I've enjoyed from them. When I've bought blind from SMWS, I've often been caught out a wee bit. And there's whiskies on my shelf here from them that'll stay a bit longer than they should. Zach Andrews is in saying, got to run, but seriously, from the bottom of our barfly hearts, thank you for all your evangelism. Looking forward to next Sunday, Zach. I'm looking forward to next Sunday too. You're going to be joining us here, my friend. And I can't wait to welcome you into a vPub, Zach Andrews from Texas. Thank you for your dram, Zach, and have a great Sunday. Slanchava. And let's raise a glass of something else, and a clean glass. Wee sticker on the bottom of this, one of my wee blue stickers. What I'll do is I'll fill 2 or 3, 4 drams, and I'll just put a coloured dot underneath them, and then I'll shuffle them up so I don't know what's in the dram, and then I'll sit and do tasting notes and based on that. And then finally, after I've done all of this, I'll try and guess what I'm sipping. It's great fun, and you'll be amazed how often you get it wrong. Maybe you're better at it than me, but it's great fun. I'm going to pour a little dram of this Bruichladdich, because perhaps that's where I would have, absolutely that's where I would have been today. I would have enjoyed my time at Lagavulin yesterday, and I'd currently be enjoying my time over at Bruichladdich for their open day. Or I would have had today. I'd probably been home and tucked up by now. But I'm sad, as I've mentioned, that Fisheel is a virtual event. But I'm going to put a link in the chat just now for you all to keep up with the virtual activities. This is the Fisheel Facebook page. So you can go along and see the schedule for the week ahead, what's happening where to pick up the virtual activities, and then you can join in. I know there's so much content out there right now. But these are fairly unique things. It's you might want to dip into your favourites over on Islay and participate in some of the Fisheel things that's going on just now. This is the beer barley from Bruichladdich. This is a 2008 beer barley, and I actually quite like it. Sláinte to everybody, and everybody that probably wishes they should be over at Fisheel right now. It'll come. Cheers. Oh, lovely. Creamy. So what you get there, and the spice on the end, what you're getting there is obviously a distillate, but at 50%, I think this is at 50%, this one, at 50%, yeah, 50% typical Bruichladdich, you're getting that extra engagement from the ABV. ABV is a fantastic delivery mechanism for experience, engagement, flavour. And also the effervescence, the way it kind of even your gums tingle, everything tingles. And when you've been into malt whiskey or whiskey generally for a while, that becomes a fun part of the experience. It's no longer a burning thing. It becomes very much something that you look for in a stronger dram. It's a nice wee whiskey. Excuse me. Pierre is saying, is it beer or bear? I think it's somewhere in between the two. But if somebody picks you up and tells you that you're pronouncing the barley wrong, I wouldn't take too much notice of it. Daniel Gray saying, I just poured myself the classic laddie, letting it sit while I waited for you. Good for you, Daniel, having a wee Bruichladdich as well to celebrate today. This would have been the laddie lock-in. The lock-in? I don't have exclusive rights on the lock-in. Lock-ins are what I do for patrons. So if we have a vPub, private vPub just for patrons, are called lock-ins based on pub culture. Budget drams. Has anyone tried the Botanist gin from Bruichladdich? It's a lovely gin. I echo that fully. What's interesting, and I didn't speak to Julianne about it, is that Tobermory have brought out a Tobermory gin as well. And I've heard good things about that. A completely different direction from the Bruichladdich one. I need to talk about this because it's a cool thing. When Julianne was on my live stream, she was drinking an Auchentoshan. She didn't want to think about the whiskey. She just wanted a something to have in her hand as we talked. And we were going to get to her big hitter, Boona Havens, later in the stream. But I asked her what she was drinking, and she said, oh, my local distillery, this is an Auchentoshan, American oak. When she was on a live stream launching the Tobermory gin, she actively talked about one of her favourite gins being the Botanist. Brands don't need to be that precious and on brand all the time. They can communicate with the enthusiasts more when we understand that they're enthusiasts just like us. And they don't only drink product from their own house, their own distillery. Fascinating. That's on their Facebook page. You can see Julianne talking about Botanist gin as they launch their own Tobermory gin. I've not tried the Tobermory gin, by the way. Precarious David saying snap. I don't know what Precarious David has done a fantastic barfly song. I'm going to share it with patrons. It's so fun. He's done 2 versions of it now. Some patrons actually, some barflies get a mention in them as well. He's composed this piece on a piano, and he's called it the Barfly song. It's great, and I'm talking to him now about releasing it on Patreon. I think he's okay with it. have a beer. Macallan Finer Rare is saying, Jimmy Legg is saying that's a good pour. Dave K is saying thoughts on the Laddie Rye. I haven't touched it yet. I'd love to try it. I'd love to get my hands on it. There's a few ryes out there maturing right now, and I think it's all going to be interesting. I'm hoping that the ryes that come out of Scotland have a Scottish DNA, something that differentiates them from Canadian, American, from other ryes, European ryes. I'd love them to get to the quality and complexity of things like the stuff that's coming out of Millstone. It could be good. It could be really good. And they see saying, thought it was very refreshing for her to do that. It's become a bit of a joke, actually, that if brand ambassadors, representatives, whiskey companies or whatever come onto the channel, it's become a bit of an in thing that they drink what they would normally honestly drink when it's something not from their own brand portfolio. And I think with very few exceptions that's happened. Billy Walker had a Johnny Walker Black, remember? Scott Adamson came on drinking Arran. Scott works for Tomatin. I'm trying to think if it happened with Gordon Dundas or any of the other guys, but it's become a bit of a thing. But it's just honest. It's human, isn't it? If they were at a festival, they would be drinking different things and enjoying different things and talking about different things. Say the words. People like it. People can understand it in context. Pete Head would say Adam was telling that the rye is maturing now for only 2.5 years, so we'll have to wait a little more. A lot of people asking for Adam over at Brooklady to come on to the show. I think he would be a fantastic guy, a very engaging guy. I've been trying to think of people I could reach out to at Diageo as well. Chances, right? But never say never. You never say never. But people that have got a story to share, a story to tell. That's what I want to share on the channel. Is stories. The guy I'm talking to about coming on Thursday night is a guy who, out of pure passion, co-founded the Good Spirits Company in Glasgow. And it's gone from strength to strength. It's thriving based on appreciation, education, building community, a different take on off sales. Fascinating guy to talk to. If I could, I hope that something like that could happen for Thursday night. He would be a good guy to talk to and just talk about passion and whiskey passions, how it can take you from an environment or a situation and throw your life off on a trajectory where you end up where he is today, doing what he is today. But bring human side to it, the stories. Have you tried the Deanston 2008 brandy cask finish? Yes, I have. Feel it's quite good with an extended finish. I did like it, but I didn't buy the brandy cask finish for myself. I can't remember what I bought back then. That was roughly the same time as the Palo Cortado, so I was all over the Palo Cortado at that time. So I didn't buy the brandy cask. But interestingly, I tried that. I hosted at a tasting by Julianne Fernandez. She didn't know who I was. We had a brief chat and things. But yeah. I have tried it. I did like it a lot. Molasses saying, I love it when ambassadors are honest about their enthusiasm beyond just the brands. I think it comes across, doesn't it, when they're whiskey fans, when they're whiskey lovers, when they feel privileged to have this role and to represent a product that they genuinely love. That comes across. The passion is tangible. Graham Fraser is saying, Nick Morgan from Diageo would be interesting. He follows me on Twitter. Well, if he's your pal, you should reach out to him. It would be tough because I don't imagine Nick Morgan coming on and what have you got in your glass, Nick? A glass of Daft Mill and Springbank. I just can't see it. But maybe that's me doing exactly what I'm encouraging other people not to do and judge in advance. So when do we get an Octomore version of The Botanist? Who do we petition? Well, they are... who was talking about smoking something that isn't normally smoked? I think it was Tobermory Gin. We're talking about doing a gin version with using the lead chick spirit, so a smoky gin. I'm not into gin, so I don't know if that already exists out there, if it's quite a common thing. Gin beverage, another good idea. You know the good guys at Diageo, the Colin Dunns, the Ewan Gunn. Ewan Gunn is he's an interesting guy to talk to. but I'm not sure. Ewan Gunn looks like a really interesting guy. Colin Dunn is fascinating. He's been in the business a long, long time as well. Hillswood is saying peated rum was Billy Walker, I think. He was talking about peated rum. Wonder if it happened with there's so many whiskey discussions I have that they can all roll into each other. I'm sure you've picked that up from me in the past. Jimmy Legg is saying smoky rum, Glenallachie. Jimmy Legg, aye, absolutely right. Okay, how's your time? Have I covered everything? Yes. There's nothing here that can't keep till sometime down the road. Let's go back into this wee Mortlach. Speaking about having people on the show, you should check out Reinhard Porek. Porek. You heard of him? I haven't, Pierre. Sounds like a German name. Shane Leahy's in saying I have heard peated vodka. I've had peated vodka one time. Very strange. Chase vodka finished in an Islay cask. Jim is saying that they're making gin from seaweed and everything now. I had one from Grey & Horner that was matured in ex-bourbon and Oloroso casks. First Phil Whiskey's in. Good to see you. He's saying agree. He's chatting to somebody. Simon Ray is saying the Tobermory gin is very nice. Oh, well done, Simon. You've been able to try it. Joe Rudd is saying Cooper King did a limited release smoked gin, and I'm still waiting on their whiskey though. It's interesting that so many people are drinking and enjoying other spirits as well. I don't have it here. I've just had delivered from the Good Spirits Company in Glasgow, actually, a Foursquare Nobiliary rum. It's still sealed. I'm looking forward to opening that. I've tried a few Foursquares in the past, but they've always been by the sample. And they've always been pretty delicious. I find it a 1 dram thing, rum, for me. It's not something, it's not moreish. I don't want to go back and have glasses, a second glass or whatever, whereas whiskey, certain whiskies to me can be very moreish. Jimmy Legg is saying, all the Germans I know are named Doc. Scott Allen is here. Good to have you, Scott. Hope you and Becky are doing very well. He's saying barrel rested gin is big in the States. Mark, a Whiskey Bond, is saying, has anyone mentioned Brendan McCarran as a potential guest? I recognise that name, do I? Brendan McCarran. Help me out, Mark. Who's Brendan McCarran? Helen is saying, I have nigh on 40 bottles of gin in the collection too. Good for you, Helen. Talking of Helen, those guys are waiting patiently in the background, and I do desperately want to keep it under 2 hours tonight. You've heard enough monologuing from me. Let's put the wheels on the quiz. Most of the questions in the quiz tonight are from Barfly and patron supporter Sid Martin. He's been around the channel for a long time, and he shared some questions, and I took the majority of them. Some of them I've switched up a wee bit, and I've put in a couple of my own questions as well to make up the quiz tonight. I hope you have a bit of fun with it. Remember, it's optional, but it's good fun. You're only keeping your own score. You don't need to share it. You're only playing against yourself. And the idea of the quiz is always to kind of instill some kind of curiosity. Not always. There are some asshat questions in there that are there just to frustrate or just have a bit of fun with. But that's not often. There's maybe one every now and again. So I'm going to reach out to my guests who are waiting patiently in the background and hope that they can give me a wee thumb up. Excellent. They're both ready to come in and hang out with us for the quiz. Jim and Helen, how are you both? Comfortable?
Very best.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you for enduring my monologue for the last 45 minutes or so. Would you agree with anything I was saying, Jim? Specifically, I'm thinking
what are you saying?
about allowing Deanston to have a go at a market that they've typically not been pointed at so far.
Why not? I mean, but I did actually send a question, and it's one of those things that I think it was Menno actually mentioned it. This group here, this community, I would certainly like to try that, Deanston, just to try it. But I think if somebody who's buying that in that price market is going to buy grouse or is going to buy something else rather than reaching for Deanston, which they've never heard of, I think
it's interesting that you say that price is an issue. I think if you're in the grouse game, you're at around the 20 quid at late teens mark, that kind of if you get into the £20+ that's quite a lot of money to be spending on a bottle of whiskey for a lot of folk. They're looking for a malt experience there, and up at 29. But I think it's, as whiskey's getting more and more expensive, I think it's still a fairly well priced £29. I don't know what age the whiskey is in this, but as I've said, judge it on the sipping. Jim, if you don't get, do you have Morrison's in Northern Ireland?
No, Morrison's doesn't exist over here.
Right, I'm going to send you some then. I'm going to send you some, but I've not got my sample sheet. I've been keeping. Oh, I do have it. It's here. I'll write onto this. I'll say Jim Ingram. Same goes for you, Helen. If you can't hunt it down in your local Morrison's, let me know and I'll send you one.
Sounds like a plan.
Cheers, Roy.
Deanston Kentucky Cask.
I think with the Deanston, if I'm looking at a supermarket shelf and I see something that's I've not seen or heard of before, I'd give it a punt.
Yeah.
And that's just, I do that with gin. I do that. I'd probably do that with whiskey.
Because it's not expensive, probably.
Yeah.
I've done it myself in the past.
Yeah,
I used to go out to Tesco of an evening for some milk and come back with 5 bottles of whiskey. It was something that the supermarket ranges are hold less interest for me these days, of course. But not always. I still have a wee drive by. I still have a wee cruise by and have a wee look. And Whiskey Bond is saying maybe that explains Julianne drinking American Oak, a wee PR stunt. See, that's too easy to be. I think sometimes we are so cynical that we end up flattering people that they've been much more kind of contrived than they're actually capable of being. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's. I mean, it's Auchentoshan is owned by Beam Suntory. There's no association there whatsoever now. Stu Baby saying I would be imagining heavily discounted at times in the supermarket. Royale is saying that Whiskey Novice, Hellswood, reprice point. Presumably the logic is to use these entry-level products to raise brand awareness and hope the drinkers then advance onto the core range. It's exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
They have to make the business profitable as well. They've got huge investment, restructuring at Bunnahabhain, Tobermory. It's almost complete now. I think it is complete. Deanston's had a lot of investment. Brand new mash tun had to go on and things. But the investment that's happening at Bunnahabhain is huge. Distell, I have to say, we were worried when this Burn Stewart sold to Distell, but honestly, it's been more of the same since. It seems to have been in good hands. Andy C is saying she's a Bishopton girl. Explains the connection, as she said. Aye, okay, that's right. So Auchentoshan, as she said, was her local distillery. And Mark Slinger is saying, I think it's trying to draw in young bourbon drinkers. Well, it could. And I had this discussion, Mark, with somebody as well, that if somebody is a bourbon drinker and they go and pick up this based on this Kentucky thing on the label and they drink this is not bourbon. This is fully Scotch whiskey. And the bourbon flavours are there, but they're very, very delicate and very light. If somebody's looking for a bourbon experience with this whiskey, they're not going to get it. Jimmy's not listening to me saying it now makes me want to purchase Deanston less. What does, Jimmy? The fact that they've released a 40%? Royale is saying exactly which is good for us enthusiasts. At the end of the day, the distillery has to be viable. We often forget, we become so passionate in whiskey that we invest in it to the point that we sometimes get carried away and feel like we somehow own it, that it's ours, and how dare they do that to that whiskey. These are businesses, and whiskey has had its ups and downs over history. We want it to stay strong, so we can't have it all. We have to accept some things. As a community, we get together. We will always unearth and share and discover where the good experiences are. Am I right?
Yep.
We do that pretty well. Anyway, guys, I'll bring on this quiz. Less haver. more quiz. Good luck, everybody. I wish you very well for the quiz. You're keeping your own score. Only share if you want to. 10 questions, and we'll try and get it wrapped up in the next 30 minutes. Question 1. Which creature is featured on the Dilluan Flora and Fauna release? You'll see from the wee picture in the bottom left here, this is from Sid Martin. Most of the questions tonight are from our friend Sid. I haven't spotted him in tonight. I hope he's in. But which creature is featured on Dilluan's Flora and Fauna release? The 16-year-old. Is it A badger, B a swan, or C an otter? Do you have a bottle on hand, Helen? No, you're glum already.
No. It'll have to be pure guesswork on this one.
I took this quiz. Sid sent it through on an email where the answers were highlighted in red, and I saw the answer to this highlighted as red. But I would have got this. I know this. Dillion 16 flora and fauna. I would know it. But I handed the phone to my wife, and she made me take the quiz, and I got 8 out of 10. I got 2 wrong. So there might be a couple of questions tonight. If they do roll up the ones that I got wrong, I'll admit that I got them wrong. And Sid Martin is saying yes, he's in. Thanks, Sid. Thanks for contributing and helping me out, my friend. Okay, Jim, I'm going to need a guess from you, my friend. What do you think?
That's a guess. That's a guess. Badger.
Helen?
Yeah, I'm going to go with A because it matches my hair and the roots. So badger. Yeah.
It also matches the majority of the chat, I have to say, and it's absolutely right. A badger. I think I've got a wee picture of it here. Here we have the flora and fauna Dillion with the marching badger on the front. Not a bad whiskey. Question 2. There are 9 distilleries on Islay, but what is the total number of washbacks? This is not an Aquavit to ask that question. This is Sid Martin, okay? 54, 60, or 71? Is it A, 54, B, 60, or C, 71? Now, I know that Sid's going to pull a huff with me, but the questions that I can double-check, I do double-check, and I made a slight revision. Yes, I'm getting ass hats thrown at me from the quiz, from the lounge right now. And Whiskey Jason is saying, who cares? Well, interestingly, I have to say it's a bit of an asshat question, Jason. But if there's a bottleneck in the production through whiskey, it's very often the fermentation room that causes the bottleneck. So the amount of washbacks, I'm more interested in what they're made of, and I can tell you that only 3 distilleries have steel washbacks on Islay. The rest are all wooden. What would you guess? This is a pure guess, Jim, I know.
I'm going to say 71 because it's the year I was born.
Nice. Helen?
I'm going to go 54 because that's nearest my age.
Okay, good for you. If you're going to guess, make it some kind of connection, right? I can tell you that it's 71.
Yes.
That's not what Sid is expecting to come up. But I did a wee double check on the latest numbers I could get my hands on, and it was a slightly different number from Sid's, but it is apparently 71 washbacks on Islay. What value you would take from that, I'm not sure. I'm quite happy for you to use that emojis. Kev Granter on Whiskey has got dancing emojis he's celebrating. Which Aquavite favourite was first released on the 12th of August 2016? I have talked about this. It was the dram I was drinking before I released my first ever video. I wasn't going to release it, and the Whiskey Rev and I drank this whiskey. It was brand new out at the time, or relatively brand new, and it was the whiskey that I pressed the live button and went to bed. The next morning I got up and I came through after all the agony and I looked, and nobody had watched. Nobody had watched the video. All that agony for nothing. Is it A, Kilkerran 12, B, Arran 14, or C, Deanston 12? Sid had picked 3 whiskies that he thought were favourites of mine. He was absolutely right. They were all 12-year-old. I substituted the Lagavulin 12 for Arran 14 to make it a wee bit trickier. So there you go. I've just given away. Sometimes I can. Oh my goodness! I need somebody on hand to kick me. So there you go. What would you guess from A or C then, Helen?
I know what a fanboy you are, and I totally missed what you said, so don't worry about it. I'm going to go with C, Deanston 12.
Jim?
I'm going to go with A, the Kilkerran. I did change it.
Jim takes it. And after anything I've just said, if anybody picked B, they weren't listening. Yeah, Kilkerran came out in the August. I passed it. I didn't buy it, and it promptly sold out everywhere. Everybody was raving about it. It took me a long time to get my hands on it. And the drams that we drank before the video went live were actually drinks by the dram from Master of Malts. These wee drams. Skogsmart is saying yes, people were still guessing B. Question 4. Dalwhinnie is a remote distillery just off the A9, but which is its closest neighbour? Now he's talking about, I guess, not as the crow flies, but as to drive to, but I think they'll be both one and the same. Is it A, Tomatin, B, Speyside, or C, Blair Athol? Sid, I have to say, a couple of crunchy questions here, buddy. I hope you're taking the heat for this as well as me. So you get yourself to Dalwhinnie, and the next nearest distillery to drive to from Dalwhinnie is what? A, Tomatin, B, Speyside, or C, Blair Athol? Luna Aaron saying, I refuse to answer this question, even if I knew it. Luna, if you ever so desire, you're welcome. And Rasta is saying, I don't think Speyside is a neighbour. So Speyside Distillery is most definitely a neighbour to Dalwhinnie, as is Tomatin, Blair Athol, relatively speaking. What would you guess, Jim?
Tomatin.
And Helen, what would you say?
I'm going to stick with me C's, and I'm going to go Blair Athol.
Blair Athol is down near Pitlochry, quite a bit far south. It's I think about the miles that come up, unfortunately. Tomatin is just north, but I think it's about 40 miles north, Jim. Speyside is just a wee 15 minutes.
There you are.
Speyside Distillery. Oops. I thought I put the miles in there. I thought I put the distances in. I know that Sid did. I think it's only about 15 or 16 miles. Question 5 is the image question. And this image is supplied by Sid as well. He's given me this image, and I can tell you I got this wrong.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, I got this wrong. Interesting, a very interesting one here. Are we looking at Dufton, Glendullan, or Bladnoch? A, Dufton, B, Glendullan, or C, Bladnoch? Dufton and Glendullan are both in the same town. They're both in Dufton or Dofton. And Bladnoch is down in the lowlands. It's really far south. So what are we looking at here? Are we looking at a lowland setting or a Speyside setting? If we're looking at a Speyside setting, which of those two is it? Or is it Bladnoch? Mashburn is in. Good to see you, Ross. A doff of the cap to you, my friend. Greg is saying a tough one again. I have to say so, Greg, because I guessed and I got it wrong. What was the name of that stream? That's a good question, says Jimmy Legg. What would you think, Jim Ingram?
I've guessed C, but that is an absolute guess.
Helen,
Jim thinks it's down in the lowlands. What would you say?
Well, I'm fed up with going with the C's, so I'm going to pure guess again. I'm going to go B.
Oh. You are in the right town, but it's actually Dufton. This is Dufton Distillery.
I've actually been there.
You've been there? Oh, wow.
Years ago. Must have been 14 years ago.
Maybe you drove in from a different direction.
Yeah.
Luna's saying that she didn't want to answer a Jimmy Legg question on sea urchins and stole a phrase from Jimmy. Gabriel Wilding is on 5 out of 5. He's already hit his pass mark. Well done, Gabriel. Superb stuff. And Royale is saying feeling out on a limb, but that image vaguely matches my memory of Bladnoch from my visit about 30 years ago, long before I was able to sample its wares. I remember a kind of more of a courtyard setting of Bladnoch. But I guessed it was Glendullan, actually. Question 6. Fettercairn was the donor for Ardnahoe's malt mill. So the mill installed at Ardnahoe came from Fettercairn. But where did Jura's mash tun end up? Where did the mash tun from Jura go? Did it go to Ballinadalach? Did it go to Bruichladdich? Or did it go to Bamore? A, Ballinadalach, B, Bruichladdich, C, Bamore. Now, obviously, this is kind of White Mackay stuff finding its way into other producers. Ardnahoe using White Mackay's old cream-coloured. I think it's well over 100 years old, that Bobby mill at Ardnahoe. It's the only old piece of kit at Ardnahoe is that mill. But Jura gets rid of its mash tun and it ended up either at Ballinadalach or Bruichladdich or Bamore. Whiskey Novice.
I have just guessed Bowmore, an absolute guess.
Helen.
I'm going to go with the C again, just pure guesswork tonight. I'm going to go.
Well
Bowmore as
done. Well done, guys. Well done. Bowmore is using Jura's old mash tun. I think it's a stainless steel copper top full outer mash tun. I don't know why that happened. I don't know how it could have come around, but apparently that's where Jura's mash tun is. Question 7. Which was the first whiskey that Ralphie scored a malt mark of 90 or higher? I didn't know this. I guessed this one. Is it A, Ardbeg 10, B, Aberlour Abuna, or C, Lefroig 10-year-old cask strength? Interestingly, the cask strength Lefroig we can only buy at the distillery in the UK. The guys in the States can buy it off free shelf. It's a frustration. I think it's the best Lefroig, but I would say that I'm somebody who chases cask strength whiskey. Al McLaughlin says, looks like a good guest streak from a past couple of quizzes is not keeping up tonight. Oh, he's struggling a wee bit. Yeah. I have to say I felt that some of the questions tonight were a wee bit tricky, some educated guesswork required. Helen, give me your guess for Ralphie's first ever 90-plus score.
I'm going to go with Lefroig, but actually I'm drinking the Ardbeg 10, but I'll go with C, Lefroig.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm going with the Lefroig too.
Interesting. And this is double interesting as well, because it was actually a non-age statement whiskey was Ralphie's first ever 90-plus.
Which batch was that?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Now, a lot of the questions on here I did double check, and I went back and checked before I put them out tonight. But this is one that I didn't want to check because I imagined the work that was going to be involved. And you can imagine, right? Ralphie's got 800 plus reviews, so there must be a fact out there that's widely known. So I decided just to go with and trust Sid on this one. Apparently, Aberlour Abuna is his first ever 90 plus. A banana skin, perhaps. Question 8. Ichiro, or it is Ichiro, I think. Ichiro Akuto, owner of Chichibu, has built a second distillery and called it what? Now, this Chichibu is the Japanese producer that's on everybody's lips right now. It's the very, very in-demand Japanese distiller. Some fantastic stuff coming out of there. But it's a bit pricey, a bit expensive. And he's obviously gone from this very small scale distillery and he's built a new distillery. But what has he called it? Has he called it A, the Ichiro Distillery, or B, the Saitama Distillery, because it's located in Saitama Prefecture? Or is it C, Chichibu 2? What is Ichiro Akuto calling his new distillery? Significantly upscaled. They're just upscaling the process more or less. A couple of changes. Direct fired stills are being installed, which is interesting. I've actually suggested this is it's got Sid's picture there. This is not a Sid question. I apologise for that, Sid. This is an Aquavite question. Always like to add a world whiskey question in there somehow. Would you have any idea, Jim?
I've just gone for the Chichibu 2.
I didn't know. Helen, what would you say?
I'm going to go with B. I don't know. I haven't got the foggiest.
Guessing B for Saitama.
Yep.
I have to say that lots of the lounge are right, as is Jim with Chichibu 2.
Too obvious.
It sounds sort of Japanese.
If that happened in Scotland, it wouldn't be allowed. Edradour built Edradour 2, but they couldn't. I think they wanted to call it Balachin because Balachin had already been made at Edradour. They couldn't. So they had to so they ended up calling it Edradour 2, I guess, I think. So I think maybe this would be permitted in Scotch whisky, actually, thinking about it. Chichibu 2, regardless. Question 9, second from last. Lagavulin traditionally starts Fishil. Today was Bruichladdich. So yesterday was Lagavulin, today was Bruichladdich. Tomorrow will be who? A, Ardbeg, B, Bamor, C, Kalila. A for Ardbeg, B for Bamor, C, Kalila. See what I did there? Second last question, guys. Looks like the Alchemist has joined us. Good to see you in, Sevi. Bit late to the party after work, but I hope you're all well. I know you're working very hard, buddy. It must be, you've got more energy than me, my friend, it seems. But what is tomorrow on Islay? What is the official timetable? Yesterday, Lagavulin. Today, Bruichladdich. Tomorrow is Jim Ingram.
Well, if it's not C, you were lying to me.
I gave you this before we went live.
You did.
Helen's nodding as well, so there you go. There's a freebie for my visitors today. Kalila. You pay attention. Now let's see how the lounge is getting on. Daniel,
Callum Fine and Rare. Sorry, Roy. Callum Fine and Rare says it was the batch 24 Abuna that Roy.
91 points, Ralphie review number 3. Wow, maybe it wasn't that difficult to research, right? If I'd just searched Ralphie Abuna, I would have seen that it was review number 3, that he scored at 91 points, and the previous 2 whiskies wouldn't have taken that much work, Doc. But thank you very much for backing us up. The Doc's on it. That's just the type of guy that he is. Ralphie's 3rd ever review. Absolutely, as Burkey73 is saying. And Jimmy Legg has put himself in he's got a chance to pass after a horrible start. He's up with 4 out of 9. 5 out of 9 for Royale. Dancing Midgie 4, worst ever. Oh, sorry, Glenn. Good to have you in, nobody. Good to have you here, Peter Wilcox. Oh my God, 3. Sorry, Peter. It's a tricky one tonight. Gregor's Lehman is saying there is a website listing all Ralphie's reviews, scores, and links to his videos. So that could have been quite easy. First one, Ralphie reviewed 3 times. Says Philippe. Okay, what are we doing here? I'm looking for anybody that's on a 9 out of 9. I don't think it's going to happen tonight. Wow. Is there anybody on an 8? I'm scrolling. I don't know if you guys can see the chat with me, but it's tough to see. I'll look for the icons coming up at the end. Okay, last question, everybody. Good luck. Which of these distilleries' websites has the most expressions for sale? This is an asshat question. This is not mine. This is Sid Martin's. But which of these distilleries' website has the most expressions for sale? Is it A, Bruichladdich, B, Macallan, or C, Highland Park? Jimmy Legg is saying 9 out of 9. You're forgetting the washback question. Jimmy Legg is an unhappy bunny tonight. Raster is asking asshat. Raster, you asked something else earlier on as well that I was going to pick up on, and I think I went off on a tangent and maybe didn't get your question. Sorry. Kev was saying, I hope I'm right so I can get a pass mark. So he's on 4 out of 10. Jean de la Cuisine has to be C, right? There are 20 million expressions out there. Dogs have no uncles. C, there seems to be an infinite expressions of Highland Park these days. Jimmy Legg is saying it's C, but can't answer C. I also can't answer B, so I guess A. Why can't you answer C or B? Jimmy, come on. Jim Ingram.
I'm thinking exactly the same as Jimmy Legg, because surely there's supposed to be so many Highland Parks, so many Macallans, so maybe the answer is A, Bruichladdich.
Helen.
I'm gonna go with C, Highland Park.
I think I just took the food out of Jim's mouth and gave it to Helen. Absolutely. At Bruichladdich, they have 17 expressions available. At Macallan, they have 20. Pretty huge ranges. But at Highland Park, they have 28 listed for sale, of which they have 21 expressions in stock.
Marvelous.
Huge thanks to Sid Martin for stepping up. And now you'll be feeling the burden that contributing questions brings. It's no easy. Don't worry. Nobody's going to hate you for it. But you might have to put up with a hard time for some of the questions. Sid, thanks very much for making my job putting the quiz together today a wee bit easier. Jimmy Legg is saying, if Dalmore was A, I couldn't answer the question at all. Oh, I detect some brand snobbery there, Jimmy. We all suffer from it. But I am adamant I will remain open-minded all the time. Gixer Skipper is saying 6 out of 10, worst score, but a pass is a pass. Good for you, Luke. Absolutely. Good to be pragmatic as well. I think 6 was a decent score tonight. I said this taking a bit of a pasting, I think, but it's okay. Malcolm Douglas is saying excellent quiz. Can we all just echo Malcolm's sentiments and say excellent quiz? Well done, Sid.
Yeah.
If you have enjoyed yourself tonight, if you're enjoying yourself tonight, please remember to leave a wee thumbs up. I don't normally ask, but as I've mentioned earlier, I'm trying to read from these down thumbs. And if there is something to be interpreted from them, I want it to be real. So the people that do enjoy themselves, remember to leave a wee up thumb. And if you haven't enjoyed yourself, by all means, hit that down thumb. But do me a favour, do Roy a favour, and give me even a wee one-liner why. I do enjoy and appreciate the feedback, and I never ever judge for it. As I said, YouTube is one of the few social media platforms that has a down thumb function, so it's good to have it there. But it's nice that we want to try and gauge it well. I don't know if you're seeing any down thumbs, Jim. Probably not. You've got a happy little community building around you, right?
Yeah, well, you get the odd one. I think the only one I got was on your video. It was
on my video.
The Kilkerran one. I think it's the only down thumb I got. It was probably
don't collaborate with me, big guy. Don't collaborate with me if you don't want the down thumbs. But I think it's valuable. It's valuable there as a guide. But I think what happens is that the bigger the channel becomes, the more YouTube tries to kind of push your product out there, so that the content can often land in the feed of people that don't really want to watch a 2-hour live stream or hear about whiskey or whatever it might be. And they do give it a down thumb. So it's a good marker of your net getting cast a wee bit wider. What you don't want it to be is you don't want it to be the community reacting to things that you're doing or changing, or when you're introducing new things or topics or guests or whatever, because you can't interpret that from a thumb mechanism. No. You need interaction, you need feedback, right? But it doesn't bother me a jot. Honestly, I lose no sleep over it. People are kind of reach out and they go, "Oh, what's these about the down thumbs?" And honestly, don't even let your wee heart skip a beat over it. It's absolutely fine. I've enjoyed myself tonight. I always do. We have a wonderful community around us, don't we?
Oh yes,
we certainly do.
Very much.
I can see the cable being stretched there, Helen. Is that because Andy is on the other one?
Yes, he is. Look.
Nice to see you, Andy. Well done. You're obviously doing that so you can tune in and hear. Fantastic
Get
stuff.
your haircut.
Indeed.
Jim, the platform is yours. Anytime you want to come back and have another wee challenge, it's no problem, my friend. I take no pleasure in it tonight, but I'm glad I got there. Helen, you managed to make me sweat and had me on the ropes a wee bit with that Ben Romack. That was a cheeky one. But I think Whiskey Novice Jim, he was a bit kinder to me. If you're looking for more content from Jim, you'll find him on his channel, The Whiskey Novice, on YouTube. He's bringing out regular content every week just now. You might enjoy some of his technical backdrops and some of his insight into whiskey. I enjoy hanging out with Jim. I find his delivery very calming and soothing as well, with these Northern Irish dulcet tones. I have loved hanging out with you guys. I still don't have a confirmed guest for Thursday. It could be Matthew from the Good Spirits Company in Glasgow. If we can make that happen, I would like to make it happen. But it's kind of difficult for me just now with 2 streams going out every week to kind of have all these guests queued up and ready. And I'm enjoying all the feedback from you guys who you would like to see coming on and hanging out with us here. I know you've enjoyed some of the industry folk that we've had on recently. But with that, I'm going to raise a glass. I'm going to say thank you to everybody. I'm going to say thank you to Stefan and the boys for my T-shirts, for my book and my drams tonight. I never got to the drams, actually. I've got a Balcones Brimstone, which smells amazing. It smells like burnt wood. I've got a Stock Club Foolproof Rye, which smelled very spicy, and a Balcones Rye as well. So I'll look forward to enjoying those soon. Thank you very much for the T-shirts and the book, though, guys. Menno, Daniel Vermaas, and of course Stefan Novak as well. Thanks to Hell's Wood, to Helen for coming in and being brave to participate in it. Is it a Speyside? As well as Jim Ingram, who came back for a wee bit of revenge that will be, like everything right now, Jim, postponed for a wee while yet. Thank you both so much. I look forward to welcome you in the future.
Cheers,
I'll
Rob.
raise a glass to you. Sláinte, thanks so much.
Cheers, Hal.
And I'll raise a glass to all of you for hanging out with me and making a Sunday night so much more pleasurable around a glass of whiskey and a bit of banter and chat. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday night as well. And if you're trying to get hold of me in the meantime, a wee email, a wee message, or a comment in the video below. I love hanging out with you of a Sunday evening or whenever it may be. And I'll see you on Thursday. Sláinte va, fantastic whiskey folk.